Sit down because this is going to get ugly. Today we're talking about one of the biggest assaults on good taste Disney has committed in 2025, the Snow White remake. And no, I'm not exaggerating. This movie is a real fairy tale, but the kind you wake up from in the middle of the night, sweating, stumbling in the dark, and realizing the power's out because someone forgot to pay the bill. It's a nightmare double feature. Let's start with the basics. The original 1937 film is a masterpiece, period. The first feature-length animated movie in history, revolutionary, an explosion of vibrant colors, unforgettable soundtrack, iconic characters that still live rent-free in our minds, and that old-school Disney magic that made everything feel like a warm, fuzzy dream. Now cut to the remake. Disney, in their desperate attempt to look modern, decided to reimagine everything. They just forgot one small detail, keeping the charm. Snow White is now a protagonist without sparkle, without sweetness, without soul. Absolutely nothing that makes anyone want to root for her. She turned into a forced revolutionary leader, with speeches so rehearsed it's like she's reading off a teleprompter the whole time. She's bitter, cold, arrogant, with zero charisma, hating everything and everyone, including herself, apparently. And the most shocking part? She's supposed to be the fairest of them all, but she's just as bitter on the outside as she is on the inside. And yes, let's address the elephant in the room. Snow White, by the story's own description, is supposed to be white as snow, lips red as blood, hair black as ebony. This isn't about the actress's skin color, it's about narrative coherence. When you completely disconnect even from the poetic essence of her name, the dissonance hits you in the face. When the magic mirror says she's the fairest and you look, you just laugh nervously. And speaking of the evil queen, let's dive deeper. If in the classic she was already an absolute icon, here she's basically the only thing holding the movie together. The actress gives it her all. She has presence, posture, that killer look that makes you shrink in your seat. But even she suffers under the visual disaster that is this movie. Her costume adaptation? Oh, it's tragic. That ominous elegance from the original was swapped for a generic villain costume you'd find at a cheap Halloween party. Tacky, poorly designed, no glamour, no power. It looks like it was rushed together by someone who's never seen an actual queen. And without that malicious majesty that made you feel like she was dangerous just by entering the room. And now the dwarfs, or rather, the generic woodland companions Disney decided to call them because apparently the word dwarf is now taboo. Guys, it's sad. In the classic, each dwarf had personality, charisma. It was impossible not to love grumpy, dopey, sneezy. They were the heart and soul of the movie, brought humor, tenderness, gave Snow White those human moments. But they're just a bunch of randoms wandering the forest, spouting generic lines that sound like they were written by a bored chatbot. It's that kind of forced inclusion that ends up excluding everyone because no one has a soul. And the prince? Oh, the prince. They literally erased him. In the new version, he's treated almost like a footnote, because apparently Disney is terrified of showing romance. The guy shows up as a blurry extra, with no narrative function, no personality, no chemistry with Snow White. And look, in the original he was already a bit bland, but here they managed to make it worse. You know that meme of the invisible man? Yeah, that's the prince. Now let's talk about the supporting characters. The woodland animals, who in the classic were adorable, helped Snow White clean the house, had that wholesome Disney vibe? Gone. Now they're just background digital effects that barely interact with the protagonist. The squirrel, the deer, the birds? Nothing. Not even a catchy song to lighten the mood. It's like they were scared of seeming too childish, and in the process forgot that's exactly what audiences want in a fairy tale. Charm, wonder, that warm fuzzy feeling in your heart. Even minor characters, like the huntsman who spares Snow White's life, have been reduced to hollow caricatures with zero dramatic weight. In the original, he had an intense scene, showed guilt, hesitation, that emotional struggle that made us connect to the dilemma. It was tense, real. He barely shows up, mumbles some generic regretful line, and disappears into the forest like he went to get firewood and never came back. Lacked weight, tension, heart. Another perfect example of how this remake turns crucial scenes into forgettable moments, as if the writers were just ticking boxes to say, yeah, that scene's there, without any effort. And the setting? Lord have mercy. In 1937, every frame was a work of art. Here we have lazy CGI, lifeless backdrops, no depth. The Queen's castle looks like a set from a school play. The forest looks like it was made in MS Paint. No texture, no fantasy, nothing that makes you forget you're watching a lifeless movie. Even the costumes look like they came from a post-apocalyptic Halloween parade. And guys, let's be honest. The music, which was one of the pillars of the original with unforgettable songs like Hi-Ho, was completely abandoned. No catchy tunes, nothing that sticks in your head, nothing that makes you leave the theater humming. The soundtrack sounds like stock music from a teenage suspense series. In short, the new Snow White is the perfect portrait of a Disney that's afraid of its own shadow. They tried to reinvent, but forgot to respect what made the story timeless. Tried to modernize, but forgot to tell a good story. Tried to look progressive, but created characters so lifeless that not even the magic mirror could process it. And speaking of him, I tried once again to ask the magic mirror what he thought of this movie. And tired, he replied, "Your Majesty, honestly, better not comment." That's it, folks. If you enjoyed this brutally honest rant, dripping with irony, humor, and a dash of bitter truth, show some love, leave your comment below on what you thought of this soulless remake, share it with that friend who loves no-filter critiques, and of course, subscribe to the channel to keep hanging out with us for more unfiltered pop culture hot takes. Here we speak without fear, because sometimes the real magic is having the guts to say, Disney, this apple is rotten. See you next time, beautiful people.